There will always be opportunities, there will be challenges. However, we must forge ahead regardless. So this panel conversation will be doing justice to that. And that's our first panel conversation for today. The moderator will come up stage to bring up other members of his panel. Please let's make welcome the founder of Estate Intel. A round of applause for Dolapo Omidire. He'll moderate this panel conversation and bring up other members of this particular distinguished panel. Thank you very much. We look forward to an exciting and, of course, a very insightful conversation.
Yep. Okay, perfect. So thank you very much. We're going to get started. I'll call up some of the other panelists. We'll start with Tayo Odusi from Construct, co-founder. I don't believe Tomiwa from Big Cabal is going to be joining us. So Tola from Split, please join us on stage. I'm not sure if Ayo from Cesso Global is here yet. Perfect. Okay, join us on stage as well. And to finalize, Damola, please join us from TK Africa. I'm not sure Damola is here. Let me come closer. Just checking, Damola from TK. I don't think he's here. Okay, we'll get started right away anyway. Very happy to be here with my colleagues and friends. I'll allow everybody to do a quick introduction of yourselves, the solution you're building, and then we can get started.
Hi everyone. Again, my name is Tola Adesami. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Split. At Split, we're building solutions to make the renting process easier for landlords and tenants.
Hi, I'm Tayo Odusi, co-founder and chief strategy officer of Construct. Our flagship product is LiveVend, which is connecting vendors of building materials to buyers of building materials, which are primarily builders, contractors, and developers. It's a very simple solution, but we remove all the complexities in between, which range from logistics to financing to understanding the energy component of the emission component of building materials and how it affects the environment. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Peter, the head of business development at Cesso Global. Cesso Global is a verified marketplace. What we do in a nutshell is to take properties from local developers, talking about countries like Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, and make them visible to citizens of these countries in the diaspora. We give as much comfort as possible, and we make sure the whole purchase, the whole experience is as seamless as possible. So basically, in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Thank you. Can we have a round of applause for our panelists? Okay, thank you. I forgot to plug Estate Intel. So Estate Intel is a real estate data platform. Essentially, we provide market insights on African real estate to help property developers, investors, renters understand the market and make data-driven decisions. To get started, I think what we're supposed to be talking about today is the opportunities, obstacles, and challenges that we're facing in Proptech. Can we just start off by discussing some of the challenges that you faced in building your business? Tola, I'll start with you.
Thanks, Dolapo. I think like every other tech company, you know, one of the first things that you start out struggling with is people believing you, right? Or people believing in what you're trying to build. And it's usually when you want to fundraise, right? So in our own case, that forced us to bootstrap for about 18 months in the beginning, right? And because Proptech is not necessarily this sexy thing, right? And you're trying to digitize one of the oldest and most stable asset classes in the world, the players in that market or in that space are not very used to change, right? You're coming and they feel like, even though I hate using the word, they feel like you're a disruptor, right, in quotes, and not necessarily an enabler. So I think, one of the obstacles that you sort of find, especially in this market, would be communicating to these players, in our own case, landlords, that we're here to enable and make the process much easier and stable, as opposed to disrupt what they already have going on, as well as convincing investors that we can be as great as every other vertical that's sort of in quotes sexy globally, right? Like fintech, health tech. I think I would couch it at those two obstacles.
So that's one, getting the understanding from the traditional players in the real estate industry to understand the solution that you're building, and even getting investors to get on board and understand. Has that been the case, Ayo, with CESO?
Yes, getting people, in our case, developers now, because you need the product to show people, so we have to get the products first. And we have, first of all, you have to get good developers. CESO is a verified platform, you can't just put anybody there. If you've as much as had a scandal in the past, you understand, as a developer, you can't be on the platform, because then you're watching down our brand. So one of the issues we've had, and especially because a lot of people here now do off-plan development. Of course, if you want to sell to people at a better price, it has to be off-plan. You understand? So the risk is really high. You understand? You get someone to commit to a product, and then the developer messes up along the line. It's a major issue. So that's a major factor we have to contend with. And then, of course, we have some other factors like people not even being comfortable enough, developers not being comfortable enough to sign an agreement. You have to say, okay, you do what you're supposed to do when the time is right. That's another issue, but we're moving forward.
When you say do what you're supposed to do, what does that mean? Pay a commission? Or okay. Sure. Bringing it back to you, Tayo, now, I know Construct actually just announced a $600,000 raise. Congratulations. How have you been able to move past this challenge that we've both just spoken about in terms of convincing investors, traditional players, that the solution that you're building really makes sense?
It's the reality, right? Globally, real estate, is a kind of like laggard, sector, right? Native adoption of technology or any sort of innovation. So it is a reality for us at Construct. It's the work that we have to put in there. Some other challenges that I think that are even almost more critical than even trying to get adoption from industry players is even convincing even users that these platforms are verified, and can be trusted, and all of that, because even outside of industry players, even users, like clients and that's so nicely might be dealing with, just understanding how these processes work, and just taking on the platform. But it's the work that we have to do. All the other sectors, that all the other techs, fintech, health techs, they've also had to face a lot of these challenges that they are potentially facing. I think one thing that's very peculiar to Proptech is that Proptech is essentially real estate tech, and every real estate, all real estate is local, right? So from an investor perspective, they struggle to see some level of scale outside of building physical infrastructure. So execution from our perspective, can be slightly more expensive, than other subsectors in the tech ecosystem. But the good thing is that we typically trade a capital-intensive good, right? So if you're doing take rates or whatever your revenue model is, a lot of times it complements for whatever execution cost that you may have to incur that might be heavy. I can imagine the kind of work that you have to do across Africa, to cover, to get data from across Africa, and let's take it into perspective. A lot of the other, if you were like a fintech or whatever, you might not need to have as much boots on ground, as much infrastructure in all those locations, but all real estate is local, so we have to have boots on ground in all these countries, but what we quickly tell investors that, our revenue, can easily complement, for all these challenges.
No, I think it's a very important point, because when you look at, like you said, fintech, edtech, even agri-tech, the unit economics are very straightforward. If I'm building a fintech platform, lending platform, okay, I need to make sure I disburse X number of loans to 1 million people, and it's a percentage. And it's so easy to explain to an investor. But each of us, even though we're all in the Proptech space, we have individual business models that are very idiosyncratic, very unique. So it presents an even bigger challenge. But bringing it back to you, Tola, you just raised a seed round, right? So it seems like you've been able to convince these guys. So how do you think we can go about effectively as PropTech founders, as an industry, really trying to educate the market about the solutions that we're building, and even though it might seem complex, that there's actually an interesting opportunity?
So when I speak to, I'll go back to the fundraising thing and convincing investors. I think a ton of people see announcements and think that it's like a breeze. It really isn't. But I think in our own case, speaking to what Tayo was saying, what convinced investors was, returning money on that cost, right? And showing that, yes, it's expensive for us to sort of figure it out. It took us a while to figure it out. In our own case, we staggered raising external funds, right? So we raised in 2019. We started in 2018, didn't raise till 2019, didn't raise again till 2021, right? Because yes, the unit economics were good, but we weren't very particular, because again, we came from real estate backgrounds. We're very particular about spending investor money and just burning cash, right? But what paid off for us was that, I'll put it in a way one of our investors put it, you're raising a seed round with Series A numbers, right? So we sort of had good revenues, and we needed the money to grow, but we didn't, if we wanted to stay, if we wanted to survive, we didn't really need the money. So the money, our investment was already paying off, right? And raising money was just about how big can we get this to be, right? And the story sort of morphed as well, right? We morphed from just solving monthly rent payments and taking all the problems through our journey. So seeing that landlords genuinely had different problems beyond collecting rent. Tenants also wanted to do things like borrow. Facility managers had maintenance issues. We sort of morphed into this company that wants to solve all, and because we had built some of those products anyway, right? I think in the beginning we overbuilt, to be honest. I would say that's my fault from a product perspective. But we overbuilt, and we started to see that all these things could be, decentralized into specific products for different people in that renting ecosystem.
Sure. I mean, I think from an overbuilding perspective, it's really important, especially when we are a nascent industry, to work fast, get the solutions out, test it, get the feedback, and improve. And I think probably in your case as well, getting the right team to help you execute and tell you, Tola, wait, let's build this one first, and then we will do that has helped. Just to round off the opportunities side, the obstacles side, in terms of the fundraising environment right now globally, it's not in the best of shapes. We're seeing what is being called, I guess, easy money that has been the case for the past few years, that narrative is slowly changing. Now that it's actually a really good year for PropTech in Africa, I think we're doing so far, just about $6 million plus raised for PropTech companies, most of them so far from Nigeria as well. Do you think that that's going to have a challenge? I think, maybe I'll start with you, Tayo. Pose a problem for, I guess, future PropTech companies looking to get the funding to build their solutions.
I think the announcements are great, and I think the progress that we've achieved is very, very common, but still super early days, right?
Yeah.
When we say number 6 million, it's like a drop.
Yeah, in the ocean, yeah.
But the reality is that it's almost 6 million more than last year.
Yeah.
25 million. So these are super early days, but I can assure you that obviously the successes that achieved will only lead to people having more interest in PropTech. For example, Wabi is in its 8th year. This is the first time we're having a Wabi PropTech Summit. That must count for something. That was the case at API
in South Africa
as well. In South Africa, most of the PE companies, the investors in real estate, the core real estate investors and REITs have recently created a fund. And I think it's about, I can't remember how many million?
30 million, I think,
30 million fund.
on PropTech.
All right, we need something like that for Nigeria. We need something like that.
West Africa, yeah.
I mean, not put anybody on the spot, but I know that, I had some conversations yesterday, and I said, even if you guys match the 250, 500K fund, how is super, I mean, you guys can get a lot of grants, seed capital, to just start building up, some things, because there's so much opportunity, and there's so many things to solve for, on both the supply and demand side, all right? There's a lot of work going on the demand side, but there's still so very few of us trying to figure out how to help and how to crack the supply. And that's why the work that John and I are doing, we like them, is just super hard, because our first thing was trying to move into that supply side and trying to think how to bring housing and real estate to the market more transparently, more affordable. So, and to be honest, it's like a call for competition, but really I think it's a call for other players to come and do this work with us, because the market is so big and hence the opportunities. But I definitely, the success that GDC once we can all execute, right, and that's what we need to do. And I'm sure those are the constituencies and our summit, our strategies to executing, some mindsets that founders need to have. I was speaking to one of the founders, speakers who was speaking to us, and I agree that you cannot bring a real estate perspective, real estate mindset, traditional real estate perspective to PropTech. You just cannot. You need to study how technology world works. For example, even the concept of bootstrapping, right? It's slightly falling into real estate, right? The first day as a real estate broker, you're wearing a suit, you're wearing a tie, you're wearing shiny shoes. In tech world, you need to be able to grind out in your room, your garage, whatever. You need to be able to bootstrap your team, on very, very sometimes early circumstances, to get your product out. And when you get your product out, you can then begin to raise it. And then it's rather intuitive and progressive, at that stage. So excited about the data just because there's so much opportunity, potential, and I think we also have a lot of talent locally to harness this opportunity.
Sure. I mean, I think on the points of collaboration and working with some of the traditional real estate players, there's a lot that we should probably be asking for, right? They're the people that are essentially going to be adopting the solutions, either working with or in some shape or form, they're part of the business that we're doing. So for you, Ayo, what do you think you might need? I mean, we have some developers here, we have some property owners, financiers as well. What do you need from them from a PropTech perspective, and what can they do for you today that would help make what you're executing and building much easier?
I think really care about sitting down together and having these conversations. Because by the time you look at values of all stakeholders and then you as a company, you have an opportunity to we have try and see where you can have a synergy. Understand? For instance, in terms of finance, when it comes to purchase of real estate, the mortgage sector is still in the part. You understand? And one of the things we started in Ghana right now is the diaspora mortgage.
Okay.
You understand? We've been having this kind of financiers and financial partners.
Can you tell us who the financial partner is? If you can't, it's fine. I'm just asking.
It's I can mention a plan for instance.
Okay. Okay.
So we started that in Ghana we are moving scale of next year. So for instance, we're looking at a 5-year plan, and once you get 20% of the possession, you understand. So that's actually it's not like it's not the ultimate goal. We start from somewhere. We start from somewhere and we keep going from there. So that's one part. The construction finance aspect is also very. So there's so many parts, there's so many ways to do there's so many things. It's all just about what our objectives are, what our objectives are, and all things happening. Fine. Listen to what see, even if we don't have the solutions, what we're trying to achieve. That's what it's all about. But we can go back to the level and see, try and see how we can
Get something out. Okay, perfect. So the first thing you said was around financing potentially, and just a seat at the table to just let's talk, and you can tell me how I can help you, what your problems are. Is that the same with you, Tayo or Antola? How do you see that in terms of requests from businesses, traditional real estate businesses? How can they help you today?
I think opening the door, right, and not seeing this as competition, which doesn't make sense, right? So I think they're making inferences from fintech, right? So you find that fintechs are building banks. Some fintechs are building banks, right? But the truth is some fintechs are building rails, right? From the banking system down to the consumer and building more efficient rails, right? And I don't think any Proptech company, the difference is that you will not find a Proptech company building a Proptech, a real estate traditional business, right? I think globally, the only Proptech that tried to completely obliterate or disrupt a particular asset class in traditional real estate was Airbnb, if we look at it globally, because they set out to say, hey, hotels are trash, we're going to make it better. And the argument is still on the table if they've done that efficiently, right? But seeing us as enablers of what they're doing, right? So, for instance, I would use Construct, right? Let me not use Split here. I'll use Construct, right? Construct is trying to make that building process much easier and transparent, right? If I was a builder, why won't I use Construct? I would see all the vendors that I need to buy things from, but building materials from. I will see pricing, so I can compete. I'm forcing these vendors to compete on price and quality, right? So I can make those inferred decisions. Or like Estate Intel, I want to move into this market and build hotels, right? But what does that market look like from a revenue perspective, from an affordability perspective? And if I have all of that data from you guys, I can make informed decision. I don't see how today, like you walk into like corporate offices, real estate offices, and they still think that they can build technology themselves and be as nifty as we are, or build or think that we're competing with them, because we're enabling their revenue through our platforms, which doesn't make sense, because at the end of the day, the revenue gets to you. I think it's also on us to build trust, right? And in tech generally, you build trust in two ways: by buying trust, and so you raise tons of money and buy trust, right? Or building a great product. I think in our own case, we've stood the test of time because we built a great product, and there are landlords that will just never leave Split, right? So yeah, I think those are the ways, like on both sides, we can sort of like create this like cohesiveness, basically.
Sure. So building trust on one side and making sure that the traditional real estate businesses are not seeing you as competitors, but more as enablers to help them grow. Okay, Ty, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of that. Technology essentially is an enabler, right? But the reality is that in some ways, like it could disrupt the market. And where, as a traditional operator, right, I see that there's innovation that potentially can disrupt. I need to quickly realize that that's my future. And support and back that innovation because it's inevitable. I mean, just think about anything you do today. We don't do it the same way we did 20 years ago. And there were service providers that offered us that service, offered us landlines, offered us direct connection. Where are all those ISPs today? Alright? That has helped. But when the guys that are offering these services were coming to the market, those guys needed to have back to these guys, they needed to have investors, they needed to be their cheerleaders and make sure that and those in business today, essentially, how we can true operator or build acquisition or whatever, what I do. So I would say that even in the event that you feel this technology might not just enable your business, it might disrupt your business. The best thing to do is to jump on this. And to be honest, we've had a few vendors who see us as not just another channel, but the future channel. Because essentially, LiveVent is a platform. It's a channel
building materials, but they've come to realize that, see, we got a taster for about a year and a half during the pandemic, where supply chains were messed up. They couldn't use their traditional channels as much. In fact, at that point, they sporadically had to find some form of digital way of transacting if they were going to reach, their buyers. And then these guys have built this procurement platform that absolutely does that end-to-end, but it's no longer sporadic, it's well thought through, removes all the bottlenecks, it offers financing, it has all these features that they only wish they had. We've had some very intelligent vendors not just sign up, but also look to back us and see how they can absolutely get into our business because they see us as their future. And that's what has to happen on every side, from developers, real estate service providers. You need to see a lot of these PropTechs as your future and support them.
So that's ability to adapt and evolve as well, because it's inevitable, essentially. So I mean, we've talked about funding, we've talked about how businesses can help. What else do you think some of the PropTech companies that are trying to build, what do we need to survive? Tayo, I'll let you continue on that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, just listening to us talk and all of that, is I just realized, and I can see Tunde of formerly Rent Small, now Small Tech. A lot of the PropTechs, and it's instructive when he says just 7 million has been raised this year. We're the ones. Just imagine, the bush, and you need to create a path, and that path is currently just narrow, like a carriage can't pass through. You can only pass through by foot, because obviously Tola and Tunde went, they cleared small. Dolakbo came, cleared small. LiveVent is coming, clearing small, right?
Seso
has cleared a little bit as well. But we need to create a highway. All right? But inherently, which means that Tola is going to make some mistakes that he has no fallback. He doesn't have any, flutter wave to check. How did they do it? Because it's a brand new, space, and Costra is going to make some rookie mistakes. All right. and Cesso Global and every one of us, So you need to, I guess I'm talking to founders that you need to be very aware, that this is a brand new space. We don't even understand it just yet. We don't know all the idiosyncrasies. In 3 years, when we sit on this panel, some things that we said today, we'll tell them, please do not do that. Do not do that. Or maybe we didn't say it, but some things that we are doing, we'll come and say, I did this, so don't do it. This is how it ended. So it's just that awareness and consciousness and I guess humility to understand that, this is a new space. We have to be, cautiously optimistic, about the opportunities. I know that, Dolakpo, you are doing a lot of work on trying to help us figure out the size of the market. The total addressable market, the size of the market, and for any individual solution, what size of the market can you even address? Those are certain things that, fintechs just pick from someone else's deck and it's accurate. 100%, because like 1 million people have done the research and they've figured it out, but we're just trying to figure that out.
It's early days.
So it's early days.
Just to pick on this, actually, one thing that most Proptech companies, especially when you're raising, the next thing is to start thinking about expansion. Okay, we've done Nigeria. We want to become Africa's construction platform, Africa's renting platform, Africa's data platform. How do we need to think about this expansion, and what markets do you think are relevant? That's okay.
Wow. Okay. Maybe we are in 3 countries right now, and
Sorry, that's Nigeria, Ghana, and which one?
and South Africa.
Oh, South Africa.
Yes.
Okay.
But outside these 3 countries, we have teams also in other countries, like in the UK, in the US, and all that. It makes sales easier. It makes, for instance, if somebody calls from the US, if somebody sends a message to the platform from the US, and I call back, they probably won't pick my call.
Sure.
You understand? But if a representative of CESO in the US calls that person back and says, oh, someone from Nigeria called you and we understand you were not responding, we sent you a message, you were not responding and all that, it opens the door. It opens the door wide open. So by the next time I'm calling the person, we are talking about virtual tours.
Sure.
You understand? So that's why we've had to have those teams. You understand, in all those places.
And right now, the teams are you're selling property in Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, and then the diaspora team is in the UK and the US.
We have teams in the UK, in the US, in Dubai.
Dubai. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
you understand. So especially also because we, as part of what we do, as the services we render for developers here in the local markets, you can be very specific as to who you want to meet.
Okay.
And we can get that done. We've had people say we want to have meetups with Nigerian neurosurgeons in New York, for instance, and we get them. You understand? We have the events in New York, and then we have the people coming at this caliber of people. You understand? The kind of people you want. You understand? So it's very important for us that we have those teams because they do those works there. You understand? So if you are expanding, there must be a reason why you're expanding. It's not just for the sake of expanding. There must be specific objectives you are looking to get done, and it has to be on a constant basis. Not that you have this for it once or twice. You understand? Because because it's going to cost you a lot of money, obviously. You understand? So I think it has to be basically objective driven, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, thank you. I want to come to Tola because you and I have actually spoken about this, specifically talking about Ghana versus or Kenya as a second market, and you had some interesting thoughts. I mean, do you want to chime in here?
I think expansion. So understand that this market that we're innovating, or this asset class we're innovating for, is not easily movable. Right, it's a very static. It's a static asset class. Like you cannot move property from one place to the other, right? So it's tough, like in our own space, like it's tough to think about expansion quickly. We tried it. In 2019, we were like, oh, we're launching in Ghana, but we figured out very, very quickly that that was a momentary thing. And the demand that we got for that was this Afro Nation Year of the Return thing. Like once that went, the Ghana authorities now started looking to us and asking us for, licenses and stuff like that. Like, and we're like, we're in Proptech. What do we need a license for? Do you understand? But I think we've taken it slower than we need to, because we understand that the market and the particularities, peculiarities of what we're innovating for, right? Landlords are the same everywhere. They have the same mindset. As he said, they're slow to adapting, technology. Why not sort out the market, the primary market you're in first, right? As we said, it's early days. We look at West Africa, startups have only raised $7 million in this year in Proptech. That's a fintech seed round, right? That's one fintech seed round, right? It's not, we've not even scratched the surface, which also tells me that from a market perspective, we've not scratched the surface. We're not giving the market enough to consume, right? So I think in our own case, expansion has to be slow and very, 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 very purposeful. Which is why we are grateful for companies like Estate Intel who can give us like insights on where to go to next and why, right? Because I don't think we can go the route of the fintechs and just expand for market grab's sake. You can't do that, right? In our own case.
No, I completely agree. I think in terms of intentional expansion, that's something that even as a business, we also think about quite a lot. We have a term that we say, it's return on data collection investment for us. So what we're doing essentially is saying, if we collect data in this market versus collect data in this market, who cares enough about this data to actually pay us for it? If one looks like, yeah, nobody's going to pay us for it, we're not going to spend the time, because it takes a lot of effort to go out, get that data, verify it, go through our process. So yeah, I completely agree with that. Tayo, I think you want to chime in there.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, I agree. And that I was just smiling about the return on data collection, collected in investments. Just makes absolute sense. But in our own context, we're B2B and large scale B2B. So to be honest, if the government of Morocco calls us tomorrow that we want to do this affordable housing project and we want to use your platform, we'll be there tomorrow. So it's still speaking to what Ayo said, being purposeful, expanding for a reason, but I can assure you that this is our beachhead market. We will not be expanding anywhere without the opportunity clearly in sight.
Sure.
Super clear in sight. We would only follow the opportunity. And again, we're B2B, so the opportunity a lot of times, makes sense for our take rates and any cost that we might incur.
Okay, so essentially you're saying Nigeria is your market, your focus,
Beachhead.
but if customers and your clients take you to new places, you gladly follow as long as there's intentionality. Okay, that's fine. If I can just get some closing comments on the PropTech space before I just pass to the audience for questions, and then we can go. So, Ayo, tell us what you think. PropTech 2023. Give us
Yes.
your view.
So basically, as everyone has said before, I think Tayo said, we have to be very resilient. There's still a lot to do. There's still so many problems, so many opportunities as well. So we just have to be resilient and gradually chip at it. As we make the progress, we have to make a lot of noise about it, because that's what's going to bring these VCs back here. The fintech, we have all this progress there because of all the noise. The little resources they had these achievements and
Little resources?
Before, you understand, before
Okay.
before everybody now started looking at it, you understand, they made so much achievements and they made a lot of noise about it, you know. So as we make these advances, progress, we have to make a lot of noise.
and we'll go from there.
Yeah. In closing, for me, I'll just say in economics, they say innovation reduces transaction costs, right? And innovation essentially is technology. And in nascent markets like ours, right, transaction costs are high because of information asymmetry. The markets are, very, very opaque. So transaction costs can significantly be reduced, by technology, which is Proptech. So the opportunity is there. There is no doubt about it. Any developer in this room, any real estate broker, you want to back some Proptechs. You want to think through these things and all of that. However, like I said earlier, we need to be cautiously optimistic because it's very hard. The problems that we're trying to solve are very, very hard. But the problems are there, the opportunities are there, and with the right backers, with the right founders, with the right perspectives, we can win.
Thank you.
2023, it's a poor fundraising market right now. But I think with things like ARM and Techstars sort of setting up a fintech and PropTech focused accelerator out here, and sort of you guys sort of paving the way and just breaking sort of that international investments. Metaprop also like looking out here to to accelerate startups. I think we'll see, which would be an evidence of our growth. We'll see a lot of more and diversified pre-seed rounds come up. I'm very excited to see that. It would also be great to see one of us or two of us or three of us grow to like a Series A point, or break that as well next year. And I think, and this is hope, even though hope is not a strategy, sort of break that YC hymen for PropTech next year would be an awesome feat that we should be able to achieve on the continent.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I completely agree. I think outside the funding, the support, like everybody has mentioned, what we all as businesses need is certified product market fit, I can say, where we are getting the scale from our users. And we're raising money, yes, but what is keeping us going is the feedback from users that is validating the businesses that we're actually building. So I'm going to pass it to the audience just in case there are any questions. Okay, I think we have 1, 2, and we can... 2 questions, okay, that's it. So can you put your hand up? The person that had a question. There's one over here.
I should go first, okay? Hello, good morning. My name is Oyinda. I represent Afro Export. I would like to acknowledge everybody on the stage. Thank you very much for not just being there, but what you've done is not for the lily-hearted. You've actually broken barriers. You have seen things nobody else saw, so very well done. Now, to me, and how it affects my business, basically, is hospitality. We know that the global chains have given us standards in Nigeria. We know that we learn of them. However, the market share with the whole set space is very small. If you go to Google, you will see almost 10,000 of unknown hotels that are very crappy. Because of that, we haven't grown to that space, and it's more or less like if one person makes it, everybody makes it. Hospitality has slowed down because we don't know what to do. The owners don't know how to manage properties. It's a waste of money. But using tech, we can actually solve this space. I actually appreciate what Tolu is doing with Split. And is there any way you can replicate this for hospitality, especially for, let's speak in Nigerian English, the short-time hotels, the Ashawos, the Akunwojos, the Oshodi. We're tired of VI. That's not the real Niger. So how are you helping us? That's just my question.
Great question. So when we started Split in 2018, We actually started with technology, and remember I said we overbuilt, right? We built the shortlets. We built, and if I do say so myself, something more complex and easier to use than Airbnb. It actually frustrated my engineers and I, right? Because at the time I was head of product. So I built this product with 2 people, and our goal was to build a product that landlords could use to earn and verify their tenants, let's call them tenants, and earn daily or earn monthly. So monthly for the guys that wanted long-term yearly contracts, daily for the short-let guys, right? But adoption was very slow, right? It just seemed like, to us, it seemed like the short-let guys would rather use WhatsApp, right? The short-term guys would rather use WhatsApp to, even though we had built this complex verification tool, which enabled them to get verified people into their homes, right? So you're not going to be dealing with people who have money laundering backgrounds, or because we will do that check. We have that product today. It's called Split Verify, right? Or who you can't adequately identify with proper background checks. We left that for like 3 years. We actually shut it down. That's part of our platform in 2020. It's somewhere in our code base. So we have it, right? I'm not just confident that the adoption from a landlord or host, as they call them, perspective is there in this market, right? Like it is there for Airbnb and the global market. I'll give you another problem Airbnb has in the Nigerian market. We learned this building that. Airbnb finds that when landlords or hosts would only host on Airbnb for the advertisements, right? Once they start that conversation, they find a way to get the tenant outside of Airbnb and consummate that transaction, right? So Airbnb built a tool because of Nigeria. They built a tool to identify exchange of emails and exchange of phone numbers in the chat box in Airbnb just because of Nigerian hosts, right? And that's artificial intelligence and all of that stuff, which says to me, or which proves my point, that the adoption, you might have the problem, but it's not a scale problem, I think, right? And this is from experience.
Okay, just very quickly, the second question, and then we'll answer it and we can round up.
Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed the session because I have a background in real estate and especially Proptech. I have a product that I'm about to launch, but then a lot of the conversation today has been centered. Sorry, my name is Funke. I'm from Mollab Homes, a Pan-African real estate company. We do real estate in East Africa and also in Lagos. So my question is, apart from funding, which is a very big problem when it comes to Proptech, especially in Africa and more especially in Nigeria, have you guys had any challenge concerning culture, especially the cultural behavior of Africans? Because with my own Proptech product, it's been very challenging convincing clients to come on the platform because we have a lot of socio-cultural obstacles when it comes to Proptech. So for the man from Split, for Construct, Mr. Tayo, do you guys have specific problems when it comes to cultural and socio-cultural behavior in adopting Proptech solutions? Thank you.
There's a song me and my sister were singing this morning when we were doing our work. A biggie man, a biggie man. We are B2B, right? And we're trying to tell this biggie man to come on the platform and type and ask for vendors and all of that. That's a big cultural problem, a billionaire in the US is happy to use a platform, or other parts of the world, but culturally, the secretary would do that, or someone else would do all the typing and all of that. So yes, there are cultural problems with let's say at least West Africa is using, a lot of platforms like ours, but you need to figure out, I can't remember which one pays. There's someone, they say someone is your client, someone else is the customer. Somebody is actually the one paying, but someone else may be the one using it and being on your platform. So you need to try and build with that in mind. So for example, on our platform, the big man's secretary can be the one doing, in fact, it's built for the secretary or the procurement manager or whoever who is happy to do the clerical work, right? But we then have authorizations built in, which we try and make very simple. So he just signs in one touch and says yes. And even in the case that he absolutely, trusts that person to handle the transaction, he doesn't need to authorize. So it's all there. So you need to, that sort of thing is what you need to think about and tell yourself that, okay, if these people are not going to use this platform, how can I build it in such a way that they will still use it? I don't know if what I've said makes sense.
Okay, thank you very much. That's it, yeah.
Thank you very much. Can we please applaud them for a very insightful and quite realistic panel conversation? Thank you.